On August 26th, my next guest will be headlining CFFC 112, where he will be taking on Mr. Frank Wells. It is for the vacant CFFC Interim Featherweight Championship. Of course, I'm talking to my man Jose Perez. Jose, dude, it's great to see you again. And I keep wondering, when am I going to see you fight? When am I going to see you fight? When am I going to see you fight? And finally, we're here. It feels like it's been forever. And when I think about 2021 and I think about you were fighting like every weekend pretty much. And now it's just like, where did this guy go? I miss seeing this guy fight. And I'm just excited
Well,
for it.
we were kind of asking, we were waiting for the same thing that everybody else thought, that the UFC call, the Contender series was like a no-brainer. So I, got in touch with like some, a new manager and stuff, and everyone was kind of like, all right, well, let's just pump the brakes and we'll, put your name out there and we'll see where we stand. And yeah, I've been getting like tense waiting and stuff because I'm not, like you said, in 2021 and even late 2020, I was pedal to the metal going basically every other month. And now it's been a span of like, it'll be 7 months apart between, from fight to fight. Once I, from the Capaldo to this next fight. And yeah, it's been rough. It's been tough to do that. It's tough on your head, but like you said, I've been doing my thing, been getting ready, helping the other guys in the gym get ready for their fights also.
Well, I definitely want to hit up on that. And one of the things that I think kind of becomes a blessing in disguise sometimes is there's a lull in action, right? So it's like nagging injuries that may have been picked that you may have been picking up over the course of nonstop combat for 2 years or plus in your case. Like there are these little things that aren't debilitating enough to like pull out of a fight, but you could like really heal up. And is it kind of a nice in a way? I know you're a really intense guy and that's what you like to do, fight, but is it kind of nice because like not being in a camp, you can kind of like I don't know, like be a normal person in a
Yeah,
way and do normal dad things. That's got to be kind of
yeah.
nice.
And for the family too. So yes, I like doing it, but so it's stress under my body, not to mention the weight cut. Like that's kind of the biggest thing is each weight cut has like a toll on your body. And when you're doing it every other month, I'm just kind of like my weight is going up and down and up and down. And it's just not really like the most healthy thing to do, especially
Right.
not at that rate. Um, but aside from that, like my family, they're along for the ride too. No, they don't actually have to step in there and fight. They don't have to be the one losing the weight and doing all that stuff, but they're along for the ride. And I'm sure there's periods of time when I'm not the nicest to be around because I'm dehydrated or whatever the case
Sure.
may be, or just generally absent. I'm just,
Yeah.
gone because that's just what I have to be. That's what, that's the toll at that point. But we've just been I told her we weren't going to do this forever, that, once I get into one of those big three, one of those big promotions, that would be like, that would give me the ability to kind of pump the brakes and operate a more realistic pace, you know, 3, 4 fights a year instead of seven,
Right.
rattling them off. But but yeah, so we were able to pump the brakes a little bit. Like we said, I thought maybe we had done enough to get the call to one of those big three. And we were just waiting and seeing where we stood. And even though it didn't end up working out and I'm still like, back fighting for a regional promotion, uh, it did. It just gave us like a mental reset. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it gave me a minute to be a normal guy and hang out with them and give them some like a mental break also from me having to go pedal the metal all the time and, hang out at home. So go to the gym, maybe slightly less, still be out, still be
Right.
present in the gym, but be present at home also.
That's definitely got to be nice. And then I think another thing, maybe it's a blessing, maybe it's a curse, but getting your teammates that have helped you for all these years and help you get ready, you're able to be there for them and be like the teammate that they can count on to get ready. I have heard from a lot of fighters that like when you're getting like one of your boys ready for a fight, it's way more stressful being the guy that's getting them ready than like being the guy who fights all the time. Because you're there, you're trying to like bring out that best version of them. But once they make that walk to the cage, it's like your hands off. You have no control over what happens. And I've heard like for some people, cornering is actually very, very stressful.
Yeah, it's hard. So, I mean, so like you were saying, so for a minute there, when the peak of my career and the peak of my consistency was off, it seemed to be like the peak of everyone else's inconsistency in the middle of COVID. Like that's
Right.
when my whole brand was created, was in the middle of COVID. And
Yes.
so I had gotten lucky with CFFC. They were operating through it. So I was the one going, and everybody else was just kind of at a standstill. Everybody in my gym also. So now I got to take back seat, for that period of time when I was just waiting to see what happened. And I had guys in my gym like Bo and like Isaac and them rattling off fights. But yeah, Bo's like a so everyone likes to say they're a part of like a family in a gym, and I feel that's like a really like generic thing to say
Yeah,
just because
sure.
it's so played out. But
Hmm.
but genuinely, like me and Bo, me and Isaac, me and these guys, like we really do hang out outside of the gym. We do talk. Like that's probably the only group chat that I'm in that I don't silence. I listen to those guys all the time.
Right, right.
Um, and whenever something happens in my life, I like to check in with them. But yeah, so it is kind of rough. It's stressful to like deal with that stuff, and it's like you make these turns in your car no problem, but then when you're sitting passenger seat in your car and someone else is driving, you start pumping the little invisible brakes on your side from the passenger seat. It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah, I would imagine it's got to be like when my daughter's a teenager and she can drive when she drives, and I'm like sitting next to her, like I'm like, pumping
Mhm.
that imaginary brake. I'm like, oh God, right? And then she's driving, she's just getting irritated with me. Like I would imagine it's
Like,
got to
hey,
be a similar
relax.
dynamic. Yeah, I'd imagine it's got to be a very similar dynamic. But Jose, one of the things that I think is so good about your gym, or what makes it so interesting, is you guys are like, there's like a small group of you, and you really have to pay attention because like right off the bat, like Gilbert Grappling, like no one, like a lot of people I know like in your area know what that is, but like you start going to like these regional promotions, you start going to New York, Philadelphia, like outside of like where you're from, not a lot of people know what that is. And that's got to be kind of a good thing in many respects, because it's like, good, you never heard of my gym, perfect, that's the way that we like it. Can you talk a little bit about you talked about Isaac, you talked about Bo, but I wanted to hit on those guys in particular because those are your two teammates that I'm most familiar with. I've seen them both compete. They're both very, very good, very, very talented. Isaac in particular, I was looking forward to watching him fight. I'm not sure what happened. Like I know, like his fight got canceled at the last second. It didn't look like it was on him. It looked like it was his opponent who withdrew at the last second. But I look at that guy, I'm like, that kid he's a kid. He's like 21 years old. And I'm just
Not
like,
even 21.
not even
Not even
21,
21
right?
yet.
Okay, so not even 21. And I'm just like, this kid is so good right now. He is so good. And I feel like a lot of people still don't really know who he is. Maybe we try to keep it that way, but can you talk a little bit about Bo and Isaac in particular? Like, in your opinion, what makes them so special?
Well, so like you said, we got a small group over, at G2 right now. So and everybody's about similar size. So like we kind of have different spectrums. We're all like
Mm-hmm.
we all came together, we're all from similar upbringings, we're all from the exact same neighborhood, just completely coincidentally, because G2 is not even in that neighborhood. But but Isaac is honestly like has the best shot and shot defense of any human I've ever met. And I'm not saying that like lightly at all, because I've seen guys that, like look the part and then when they shoot, that power is just not there. But Isaac Watkins, like he, like you said, just a kid. When he was 19, he went against that Itzo guy from Henzo Gracie Philly, and
Mm-hmm.
he's supposed to be a real powerhouse. He went up a weight class to do it, and he could take that guy down at will. There was no stopping it. And he just has this like air, aura about him, the way he acts and his confidence that he has in his shot and what he can do. But someone like that, on one side of the spectrum as far as like wrestling goes and the takedown goes, and then someone like Bo who's like really has a soft spot for boxing and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. And I'm sure that you guys could kind of see that in the
Yeah.
DeAndre fight.
Yeah.
And just kind of like the way he puts combinations together. It's not an MMA style approach to boxing. It's a very boxing style approach to MMA.
Right.
And then me with the jujitsu, so we all kind of have these like pillars operating on all sides of the spectrum, and we're all the same size, and we constantly work together and we feed off each other. So like when Isaac went against that like world champion jiu-jitsu guy, like I know that with my confidence and what I can do on the ground, I know that no one's going to go out there and just catch Isaac. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
He's gotten reps as far as defending those things. Is he a jiu-jitsu guy by nature? No.
Mhm.
but he's dealt with jiu-jitsu guys enough to like have an answer for those problems. You know what I'm saying? He's come up with solutions in his mind, you know. And same for me. I'm not going to get out wrestled by someone, you know. I'm going to have a solution for those things. Do I consider myself like just a straight thorough wrestler? Like no, not really.
Mhm.
And like a guy who's as tenacious and gets inside tight with those strikes like Bo, you know, who's slipping. And I understand like, you know, a lot of guys miss that punch. They don't really have an answer. So I know what it feels like to miss my cross and still have to
Right.
be able to like follow through to that next punch in the combination. And it really is just like, you know, we're all so far apart that, you know, because we feed off each other's strong suits, we're able to kind of come up with an answer for it.
I am just really excited to see like what the future has in store for both those guys.
Those guys
With
will be champions.
with
They
Bo
will
in
be.
particular, and I think it's one thing to kind of really talk about. Like uh, DeAndre, he's a great fighter in my opinion. I think he's very, very good. I know he's on a slump right now. I know since he beat you, he's lost two in a row. And for Bo to win that fight, like I don't want people to look at back on them and be like, yeah, but he's lost two in a row. Whatever. It's like, no, that guy's really good. And he showed flashes of why he's really good. Bo is the better man. Bo won that fight. He did what he had to do. And like that, he should be really proud of being able to take care of business against a guy like DeAndre. DeAndre is very good, in my opinion. I think he'll be back. I think he's got some things he needs to work on, but I think he'll be back.
Yeah, we going into that fight, I really knew that like DeAndre's fights have all been like first round finishes, whether he's the one getting finished or finishing.
Right.
So with the last two fights, you know, he got into that wild scramble with Damon Blackshear, and it ended up with him getting his back taken. And the other guy, he, you know, Hernandez, something like that. He got a takedown and immediately got put into that knee bar. So we knew that like those are things you can almost brush off as like flukes, like I made a mistake and that you know
Mhm.
led to my loss. But when Bo fought him, we knew that we wanted to go into the second round. We wanted to decisively win. We wanted to do what we did in the first. And, you know, aside from the slip, which for sure, if you watch that fight back, the slip, there was no takedown on DeAndre's part. He did answer and get behind him
Mhm.
once Bo slipped. But aside from that moment, you could already see, you know, the direction the fight was headed. You know,
Right.
Bo was just landing more crisp shots. He was landing his jab. His left hook was coming in as a response to that, and the right hand was always there. And he was just tying together combinations that DeAndre wasn't really being able to get off on.
Hey,
Um,
he deserves every credit for that win. That was a massive win. Taking being able to take that fight and win in the way that he did.
yes,
Um, I mean that's like very solid for him, and I'm really excited to see what happens next for Bo. I did want to kind of like shift gears a little bit and talk specifically about what everything means for you at this stage in your career. You highlighted something I think is really important, and I kind of talked about it earlier. During COVID, like you're the guy, like I swear to God, who was fighting every week. At least it seemed that way. I was trying to interview you for like a year, and I'm like, God damn, this guy's fighting again. Like, obviously, I can't bother him right now because he's fighting like next week.
yeah.
But like, you were so active. You're constantly going out, constantly going out. Now we have a bunch of movement in CFFC. It seems like CFFC gets a bunch of talent, and then a bunch of talent gets scooped out, and then like it's a constant like sometimes it gets a little thin, and then it kind of gets a little like there's some fat on the bone. You guys got all kinds of people there. So like when you think about just kind of the landscape of CFFC and what it looks like right now, I would imagine like this is like a title fight that's been a long time in the making. Like, how long have you been like working behind the scenes and telling these guys like, "Yo, like I want a title shot. Like I'm ready for a title shot. What do I have to do to get this title shot?" I think it's important for people to understand that because you have been like crushing everybody. You had one blemish on your record. You're basically fighting every single weekend, and you're just now finally getting this shot.
Um, I liked it just because so it seems that the Henzo Gracie Philly team, like I was saying, is kind of like that's the team out there.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to a point where even there, like on CFFC's like social media pages, like saying stuff like this is a no-brainer, you know, like I was asking for my title shot and they were like, well, this is everyone, it's clear to everyone. It's clear as day to everyone that this is just something I've earned. You know, this is something that like me and my team knew when we first took the very first fight against Brandon Gator and we were playing B-side in Memphis against him. Like we knew why we were taking these fights. These were fights that like we weren't supposed to win, but we knew, like even when no one else knew, we knew what this was, you know, and what was at the end of this. So I'm not super like focused on the title per se, but you know, main event status is a big deal, and getting to that next level is an even bigger deal. But as far as that goes, I mean, I'm doing the things that everyone says they're doing. Every fighter says they don't pick their opponents. Every fighter says that they're really looking for, you know, the top tier competition. That's like, you know, what they're looking for, the best guys available to them. And that's true, I'm sure, for some people to some extent. But as far as I go, I mean, if you look at my record, that's 100% true. I really do always look for the very best guy that's available for me to fight. And I'm kind of been drawing a blank as far as that goes on what the next step is and who's next. And Frank Wells was a guy that I thought, you know, we almost fought a while ago, or like that was offered to me a while ago and I accepted, but it didn't end up happening. And I think now that the title's on the line and we're both kind of in different spots in our career and we've, you know, worked through some things, I think now it's a good time for it. But beyond this opponent, I don't know. So I mean, we're in a regional promotion. I'm in I always say I'm like a big fish in a small tank, and I'm basically eating everything that's in here with me. And it's getting mighty tight in here, and I don't really know what the next step is, but I'm sure that, you know, CFFC has a broad reach and they can find me, you know, a game opponent, someone good that maybe, you know, just came off the Contender series. But yeah, I'd like to get this fight out of the way and hopefully get the call. If the call doesn't happen, then I'll start looking for guys with, you know, maybe more extensive careers and stuff like that, and basically like more veteran savvy guys, and just kind of play to a spot that I haven't already played before. You know, have a guy with, you know, a 15 plus fights, someone like that be the next step, just, you know, for my development and get ready for, you know, because when I get in the UFC, it's one thing to be there and all these guys, you know, will kind of pad their records and stuff like that, or fight guys that maybe aren't, you know, at their
Quite at that
level.
level, right?
It seems dumb that I'm taking the damage, you know, for the pay that I'm getting now. But with that being said, when I get there and I do make that step, and I will make that step into a big, you know, top tier promotion, the difference is I won't be shocked by the difference in competition. You know, I have full belief that, you know, at least the last 2-3 guys that I fought are going to be in the UFC or PFL, or one of those, like I said, those big three, you know. So I just think that I'm preparing myself for something bigger.
I completely agree. I think you fought the absolute most difficult opponents that region can produce for you. Paul Capaldo will definitely be in the in the UFC. Dalipaj, he's a very good fighter.
Dalipaj is excellent. I'm waiting for him to come back, but yes, he's really good.
He is a very good fighter. I know he's had a little bit of time off. Hopefully, he gets back out there soon. And your opponent, Frank Wells, a lot of people outside, if like you aren't like big into the CFF scene, if you don't follow MMA like on the northeastern part of the country, like I'll tell you. So if you're watching this in California or Texas or something like that, where they have their own thing going on, Frank Wells is a very gifted fighter. He doesn't have a lot of like professional experience. He has a 3-1 record, but every single time that I have seen him fight, I've been impressed with this guy. He is a very difficult opponent. I give him credit for stepping up and like taking this fight against you. I think that shows a lot about him, because at 3-1, it's kind of a risky fight for him, right? Because it's like, if I lose, now I go to 3-2. That doesn't look that good. Like, oh boy, like there are a lot of guys that would probably run away from this and take an easy fight. He's signed on the line to fight you. I think that says something about the type of character of the man that you're fighting against.
Yeah. He was actually in Capaldo's corner for our last fight. So my thing is, I'm like, he must have seen something that he thinks that he can take advantage of or something like that. Cause he got to see it front row and now he stepped up to see it firsthand, but we'll see.
Hey, well, you know what? Fighters fight, and I think it's only fair. Like he has definitely earned that title of being a fighter. Because if he signed that line, there's so many people who talk a bunch of shit that say, "Oh, I only want to fight the best." I think this guy's walking that walk by signing that dotted line to fight you. Because if I'm thinking about the probably most difficult pound for pound person that I know of that fights in the CFFC, it's you. You are probably the toughest fight that promotion can offer anybody, and this guy's signing up for it. Hats off to him because I bet it's really difficult for you to like stay active and book fights. Like I wanted to ask you that. Like when you think of like 2022, you talked about waiting, but while you were waiting, were you getting a bunch of offers from CFFC to stay active? How is that working for you at this point in your career?
Well, Capaldo was the last fight on my prior contract,
Mm-hmm.
and there was no talk of like re-signing it until that fight happened. So that's a little knock on you guys, CFFC. But anyways, once that fight happened, then yes, they were offering me the contract. There was no names per se on who they were
Mm-hmm.
looking for. Blake Builder was obviously the main culprit that they were pushing for me to fight.
Right.
I won't go into that because I know you guys are friends, but um, that was the main guy they were pushing for me to get matched up with. They really liked the idea of me fighting for the title, you know, as how that went. Um, no brainer. If you get the call, you get the call. That's a no brainer that you take that one. Um, so good, you know, good for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was kind of just me. We were just waiting for that call, waiting to see if anything was going to happen as far as like a bigger promotion goes. Cause I'm all for fighting and doing that stuff on this, you know, checking all the boxes on the regional level. But I just feel like on the regional level, I've checked all
Mm-hmm.
the boxes. I've done basically everything you can do on the regional level. No, it's not a super extensive career, but I think that I've just smashed in a lot of content, a lot of experience, and a lot of like talent in a small sitting, just in the 7 fights I have had, and the losses kind of helped me immensely too.
When I think of like the Dana White Contender series, like I think about the dynamic and I think about there's a much ado, right? Because like, oh, you're fighting in front of Dana White, you're fighting in front of all these VIPs. This is like your chance to get into the promotion. But somebody at your level who's been fighting at a high level for a very long time against some of the most difficult guys in the Northeast, like it's kind of like de facto Dana White Contender series every single time you go out there and fight because they all watch the fights, they know who you are, and I'm thinking to myself like you're also in that similar position. Like you might not be on the actual show of its in and of itself, but you're also at that point like it's not enough to just go 7-1 against Wells. Like you have to go 7-1 a certain way. Like it can't be a boring, shitty fight. Like you have to finish Wells, or if it goes to a decision, it's got to be a firefight that you walked out of. And is that like added pressure for you at this point in your career to like win these bouts in the way that you have? Like you're a fight finisher. That's what you are. You choke. You get bloodied up. You choke people out. Like that's what I think about when I think of you. I think about you submitting guys. And does that like bring like a sense of added pressure to some of these fights? Like not only do I have to win, but I have to like win in a way that matters to people.
No, to be honest, the so I've had 3 decisions in my career,
Mm-hmm.
and this isn't to like pat myself on the back, but it's just kind of something I've learned about myself just through doing this. I mean, everyone likes to think that they're that guy that like when the pressure's on and when their back's against the wall that they'll respond a certain way. Everyone likes to think that or would, you know, hope to think that they would act and respond a certain way. And but you never know until you're actually in that situation, you know, until you
Mm.
are bleeding and until your back is against the wall, until you are exhausted. But if it's one thing I've learned about myself is I that's not an attitude. Me, the way I fought Capaldo, the way I like tenaciously went after Issa Dalapaj, or if you caught the one that's on YouTube, it was my like 3rd fight against Nick Maupin. He
Mm-hmm.
just wouldn't go away. I win these rounds, but you know, I feel like a lot of people will edge the rounds. You know, they'll do just enough to get by and win that round, and they'll kind of treat each round like its own individual fight, and like you know, someone's counting points. You know, and
Yeah.
I never worry about that. I never worry about, the rounds. I never worry about who's ahead or who's behind. I'm just like attacking nonstop. I'm trying to progress through the position. If I'm in your guard, I'm trying to pass your guard. I don't care if there's 10 seconds left. If your back is open, I'm gonna put the hooks and I'm gonna take it. So there's never a doubt in my mind that like I'm gonna progress through the positions, and I think that's what makes my fights and even the decisions that have happened. I've had 3 decisions, and I've never had a snooze fest. I've never had someone like in their seats watching, one of those rounds play out. I've never, pumped the brakes and just kind of coasted to winning that round. It's always been, finish them, finish them, finish them. I'm always looking for the finish, no matter how many seconds are left in the round, no matter how far ahead or behind I am. Because I look at it like a fight, and so I don't say that there's like added pressure. I know that about myself, that just my attitude and the person I am, that when I do get in that fight, I'm gonna be aggressive. I'm gonna be like attacking the whole time. Um, but to kind of like zone in on just this one fight, I do know that's probably something they're looking for.
Hmm.
I've had my excellent barn burner fights and kind of created my brand, and they know what to expect. People know that when I go out there, that it's going to be a fight. It's not going to be, a game of points. It's going to
Hmm.
be a real war. But I think that might be something they're looking at, just something to put on a highlight reel, something to show like, oh, this is Jose, and this is a video of something he's done to someone. They are looking for that finish. So I do plan to go out and put it on him for a round or two, and then when it's there, when he starts to fold and when he starts to look for a way out, I plan to be there to give him one. I'm going to get my finish this fight, and I know that that's what they're looking for. I know that those guys up top that are poking in and watching these fights on main event, so I know that they'll be watching.
Hmm.
After what I did last fight, even more so, I know they'll be watching. But yeah, they're looking for a finish. I know that that's what they're looking for. So no pressure to fight my fight, because I know that if I just go out there, I'm going to do what people want to see. But uh, but yeah, I'm going to get my finish.
One of the things, one of the reasons why I always think about the Capaldo fight with you in particular is because for me that fight answered. I won't say answered questions. That's kind of a shitty way to frame it. I think how I'd frame it is you displayed a lot of things I hadn't really seen you display before. So early on in your career, like these guys, like these fights are just ending, boom, 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 all the time, right away, right? And then like I'm just not used to like seeing your fights go the distance, and then like the thought process can go like this, like okay, this guy is going to come out swinging, or he's going to come out and he's going to be very, very aggressive in the first round. All of his fights are ending in the first round, but if we can like stay off the ground with this guy, make him turn it into a striking fest. Let's see what his cardio looks like. Let's see what he's like when we're using our footwork to go around the cage and make him chase us. Like, let's see what is, can we frustrate him if he shoots on us, if he level changes, if he gets us up against the cage and we're able to stop from getting taken down on the ground. Is he going to get frustrated? Is he going to quit? Like, is he going to start making mistakes? Is he going to get wild? Is he like, what's going to happen? When you fought Paul Capaldo, I felt like you answered a lot of those questions because that was not an easy fight. There was a lot of things that happened. He made you run after him. It was exhausting to watch. I can only imagine how exhausting it was to actually fight that fight. But like, you never seemed frazzled. Like it was like, yes, there was like an exchange. Yes, he had his licks in too, but there never looked a time at to me where you ever where your cardio was compromised, because you still look good to me. And sometimes like guys get frustrated, they make stupid decisions. You didn't, if you were frustrated, you didn't show it. And yes, you may have made mistakes. You're going to make mistakes in the fight, but I didn't see you do anything that was just what I would say flat out dumb either.
Yeah, I agree. That is the prototype for the exact fight that I want. Those are the fights that, so yes, everybody loves the 30 seconds or the 2-minute finishes that I had in the beginning of the career. And that's great. That's great for like the highlight reel, but for people who are really looking and seeing to see if I pass that eye test, similar to what you were saying, like,
Mm-hmm.
all right, we know that he has these things in his wheelhouse, but like what else is there? When the pressure's on, how's he going to respond? Kind of how I was saying earlier. Um, Yeah, as far as the tangibles, the cardio's there.
right?
And I think I'm just also efficient. The way I grapple isn't it's high output for moments, but I'm really good at controlling position, so I can kind of afford to take breaks in there. So as far as the tangibles go and just skill levels go, I'm efficient, and the
Mhm.
cardio's there if I need it to be.
Well,
Um,
I'm sure you're efficient, and then without giving anything away or anything like that, but it's also your grappling is probably done in a way to where you're going to like try to drain my tank. You're going to do things to
yeah,
make me tired. You're going to put your body weight on me to make it hard to breathe. Like
yeah, that's
you're
and that's no secret. So we don't even need to hide that. That's just one of those things that I feel that you could watch me grapple 1,000 times and see the way I pass the guard 1,000 times,
Mhm.
but just know that like I've hit that more than 10,000 times before I ever hit it once. So you could see it. Like we
Right.
all knew what Khabib's game plan was when he was going out, but was anyone really successful in stopping it? And that's kind of how I feel this is for me. These are moves that I've practiced on my teammates 1,000 times. They know, like if anyone knows, my teammates know how I'm gonna pass. They know what I'm gonna do when I do get past. So if anyone would have created in their mind an answer to those problems, and came up with a solution to stop them, they would have. But they still work. They're still tried and true. They're just those things that, nothing that looks overly fancy, but it's just highly effective.
I think I'm really excited for you because I know how much dedication, how much sacrifice, all the things that you have had to do in your personal life and in your fighting life to get to this juncture, and to see you get rewarded with like a belt. I think it's something else. And let's think about it. So Blake Builder, he's getting a chance to compete on the Contender Series. Johan Lioness, he did not that long ago. Blackshear just got called up. Elise Reach, he just got called up a year ago. So like, what do they all have in common? They all had that. They all had that shiny gold belt, and I think that's like the one thing you get that, and it's that's it for you. Like that's it for you. Like that's what I think people want to see. People want to see Jose Perez be the champion for the featherweight class, and I think that's the thing that you need in order to graduate. And I really do believe this is the last time I'm talking to you that you're going to be in this promotion. Next time I talk to you, it's not going to be for fighting for CFFC. I think it's going to be for one of those big three promotions. So that's got to be kind of exciting too. It's like not only are you on the precipice for going on to one of those big three, but like you're gonna win a belt. And I know like it's the fans of yours like me. It's like your family that are gonna make a much bigger deal out of it. Like for you, it's probably like, yeah, that's cool. No, I'll be back at the gym, whatever, on Monday. And you're supposed to be like that as a fighter. But when you think about it, like that's like part of a legacy that you built. Like your daughter can like hold that belt when she's like 50 some odd years old and you're an old man in your rocking chair. Like you've like done something, like you've built an heirloom, like you've earned an heirloom that can be like passed down in your family. That's just got to be a really cool feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. So to some extent, yes, it's like I appreciate and I do love that. But I know that I fought like it's the battles I've won, it's not the titles I've won.
Yeah.
So there is that, but on being more like happy go lucky about it, I guess. I've been doing this forever and I've always had like my friends and family, like I'm synonymous with what I do.
Right.
Like everyone knows exactly what I do. I'm a fighter, and that's just one of those things that always gets touched on. Like, oh, this is my friend Jose, and he's a fighter. Oh, okay, cool. And then as that relationship grows, I've been called a champ from my coaches and my teammates and my friends. They just naturally call me like champ, or
Yeah.
oh, he's a champion. Or when I get a birthday card, there's the word champion on it. But like aside from grappling and things like that, I've never actually been a champion. I feel like that's kind of one of those things that's just like everybody's done. Everybody's been an amateur champ with like 7 different belts and 7 different promotions, and
Right.
then they
Right.
go up and they get a belt when they're from a regional company when they're pro, and it just seems like they just rack up these medals like they're soccer trophies. And I I've always considered myself talented, but that's one of those things that like when you talk to someone like, hey, oh, I'm a fighter. Okay, like, are you good? How do you like answer that like without How do you
Without
prove that? How do you let them know or give them context to like, yes, I am good. I am very good,
Mm.
without having something tangible like a title to say like, yes, I'm good. So now I could say like, oh, I'm a world champion or something like that on a professional level. Like, so yes, it's super cool to like actually be able to, when someone calls me a champ, to know that they're right, that they're being honest, that that's something that I honestly am as a champion.
it's it's going to be like really cool to see you have that, because I just know like all the things that go into it. I like talking at fighters at a very high level. There's that only limited. I only see you for 15 minutes out there, or and sometimes less. But it's all those miles that you're running. It's all those like commitments that you're having to make in order to do this. Like it's like, hey man, do you want to come to my barbecue? It's like I can't. Like I can't eat that food. Like, hey man, do you want to come over and like have a beer after work or something? It's like I can't drink alcohol. I'm training. Like there's,
Yeah.
and I know it's second nature to you now because you're just so used to it. But it's
It's
like,
not. It sucks. It sucks. You're mentioning these things right now, and I'm like, I
yeah.
passed through Rosati's Pizza. Rosati's, if you're looking for something to sponsor me. I probably have already paid you guys back with slices, but yes, we just passed through Rosati's when we went school shopping a little bit earlier, and it kills me. It kills me.
It's got to be difficult, but I just think all those things add up, right? And it's like there's all these things you're constantly having to say no, 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 I can't do this, can't do that, can't do this. And I just want to see you get that reward for it, because it's not just you've been doing this for only a few months. It's like you've been doing this for years. You've been doing this since you took like your first amateur fight, and now all of a sudden it's like all paths lead to this point, and this is the cherry on top, is getting this belt and then getting a call up, and that's going to be a really cool thing to see.
Yeah, that's what we've been saying. Get my finish, get my title, and then get my call and ride off into the sunset.
Hey, can't wait to see it, Jose. I want to give you an opportunity. If you have anyone at your gym or any one that you'd like to shout out, why don't you go ahead and do that before I let you go?
Well, I'm gonna thank out my family. Shelby for always being with me, my kids for dealing with me and stuff when I'm absent, when I should be home hanging out. But and yeah, the team. Team back at G2, we're finally starting to make some waves as far as like CFFC is concerned. We got a bunch of guys signed, got a bunch of wins, and some pretty dominant performances. And I just want to thank everybody for helping me out and getting me ready, keeping me sharp.
So, for everybody who's watching this, August 26th, make sure that you are watching on UFC Fight Pass. Watch my guy fight the very talented, the very gifted Frank Wells, CFFC 112. If you don't watch it, I don't know. I don't know why you'd be watching this if you're not planning on watching that. That wouldn't make any sense. So, yeah. All right. We'll just go ahead and sign off then. But, Jose, as always, man, I really appreciate your time. And I will be talking to you next when you will be making your UFC debut.
You got it.